Hello, everybody. All right, so I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Starting out, so we're gonna wait a few minutes, give people a chance to come in to before we get started. Um, so we're at Tuesday now, so we're still pretty early in the week. I know everybody's also prepping for the holiday this coming Monday, so um, with that, hmm, anyways, let's see now. And while we're waiting for some people, I'll put some music on and just go take care of something real quick. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So let's see. Wait just a little bit more before, about a minute more before we. I thank you for the likes and shares. As always, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, seeing if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything um, we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. And now that we do have a couple people here at least, let's go. Guess we can talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, as we're coming up on 3 minutes here, um, so I'm gonna go over three articles from Bounding into Comics, of course. Some news, some interesting news bits today. Well, I guess some of this stuff may have been happening over the past few days here. Um, so there's going to be a new book coming out called The Wise of Heart. That promises to be an interesting read, and I'll explain why when we go through the article. Um, Tom King is introducing Wonder Woman's daughter, Trinity. Says inspiration was to show the relevancy of Wonder Woman's ideals, but also to evolve them. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And also, Chuck Dixon is teaming up with Eric July's Rippaverse for a 90-page graphic novel. So we'll look at that as well. So, plus, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up and this day in each history, and among the things in the wrestling wrap up include the passing of another legendary wrestler. We talked a little bit about Billy Graham last week. Well, a female wrestler passed away this week who's been a bit well known on the scene for years. So, anyways, with that, why don't we? Well, let's see. Just take care of one thing here. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on, and then when I come back, we'll get right into it. Okay, so let's get going here. And as I said, if anything we talk about here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's get to the first article then. Let's see. So, and of course, if you haven't already, we can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. So, anyways, let's take a look at this. In The Wise of Heart, a man faces unthinkable consequences for stating an unspeakable truth. Article by Paul Hare, published back on May 22nd, which of course was yesterday in the comic book interview section. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. How much trouble can one get into for stating a simple and obvious truth? Quite a lot. And a man learns that in a way he couldn't have foreseen in The Wise of Heart, a satire by Hans Schantz. Schantz gave Bounding into Comics the inside scoop on his tale, which twists an old story in a perfect way for modern times. So according to that, let's see. The Wise of Heart, a modern day reimagining of the Scopes monkey trial. Ah. The Wise of Heart is crowdfunding on Kickstarter right now. With just a week to go, the 80,000 word illustrated novel is about $225 shy of its $3,000 goal. It needs just a little bit more help, and it'll be well worth it if readers can push it across the line. This isn't Shant's first rodeo either. In addition to his previously published works, he's scheduled to be involved in an interesting event later this year. Keep reading until the end to find out what that is. First, though, there's the new book. So, let's see if anybody's saying anything yet. Ah, well, Jason's saying quite a bit right now. Let's see what he's got to say here. Let's see. What's your favorite Oot Oot Hell's Paradise? I have no idea. Does Netflix have security? As far as I know, I would imagine they do. What's your favorite 2007 anime? I can't think of it off the top of my head. A lot of them back then. Um, Playing the situation with Damian Mills. Wow, what situation? I mean, that's kind of old. I mean, I haven't heard anything new on Damian recently. Just the last thing I heard is that he apparently had been accused um, by somebody of trying to molest him, and then the victim supposedly recanted the accusation. So I don't think anything new has come from that, or anything new about Damien has come out at all. So let's see. What's your favorite Netflix anime? Um, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Kisniver. I think Kisniver. I don't know if Kisniver was on Netflix or not, but probably be one if it was. What's your favorite Oot Oot? Uh, I have no idea what an Oot Oot is. None. That's the type of cartoons you grew up watching in the 80s. Well, a lot of action adventure stuff, stuff I grew up with include, now the Super, obviously, even though they technically started in the 70s. Let's see, Transformers, Mask, G.I. Joe, um, Challenge of the GoBots, Masters of the Universe, She-Ra, and yes, as a guy, I did watch She-Ra. Yes, that's true. Growing up, um, plus a lot of the classics that were redone in let's see. What's your favorite Horimiya category character? I don't know if I have one. I know of some of his works, but I don't know if I have a particular favorite. But let's see. Explain the situation with Nobuhiro Watsuki, the author of Rurouni Kenshin. I haven't heard anything about him. I don't know what you're talking about there, Jason. Um, anyways, we're caught up on the chat, so let's continue on with the article then. So, anyways, quote: "The Wise of Heart reworks the story of the 100-year-old Scopes monkey trial amid today's transgender mania." Unquote. Chance told BIC Bounding in the Comics, quote, "A high school biology teacher, Mike Andrews, agrees to participate in a court challenge to a law forbidding the teaching of biological science. In brackets, however, the law isn't forbidding evolution, as in the original Scopes trial, but rather the teaching of the biology of sex determination in defiance of a state mandate for gender for gender affirmation." So in this case, yeah, okay. Quote: "The result is a deft and devastating satire that flips the script on the original Scopes trial, as depicted in movies like Inherit the Wind." Unquote. He continued, quote, "Instead of the enlightened advocates of progressive evolutionary biology exposing the supposed ignorance of the superstitious religious townfolk, The Wise of Heart is all about how today's progressive advocates of gender affirmation defy the truths of biological science." So, kind of, as I said, flipping the script on the original Scopes monkey trial. Let's see. Voodoo is an inside joke. Well, I can't. Not an inside joke to me because I have no idea what you're even talking about. What's your favorite fairy tale filler? I like all of fairy. I don't know if I have any one particular favorite, but will the Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest anime be released? Or probably not. I think it's already released. I would. Are you talking about when you say released? Do you mean will it be released like in English? You mean will they make an English dub of it? I would think so because Fairy Tale is a pretty popular anime, but you never know. So with that, let's continue on with the article here. Shantz provided more details on the plot. Quote, "The story opens in a small town diner as a school superintendent, ringleader of the local cabal." I like how he says that, local cabal. Like, well, yeah, some people have made drawn comparisons that the LGBTQIA plus community is more like a cult. I mean, you could make that kind of argument, I guess. Um, Persuades the mayor and the local university president to support his plan to challenge the quote, Gender Awareness in Academia, or Gaia Act. The university president recruits an out-of-town ringer to lead the prosecution, her former student, Senator Roxy Castillo, leading candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination. Can I take a wild guess that maybe Roxy is supposed to be, I don't know, his world's version of Kamala Harris? Um, Not to be outdone, the superintendent secures the services of Castillo's arch rival, Senator Chad Travis from Texas, to head up the defense, unquote, Chance added. Quote, the resulting trial becomes a media circus with a Greek chorus of reporters, okay, and commentators popping up between court sessions to casually lie and spin the narrative in their desired direction, unquote. It's not all about the subject matter, though. Quote, one of the most interesting characters is Mike's girlfriend, AC, whose mother is the university president, and who faces the challenge of trying to find some middle ground, unquote, he explained. Quote, the courtroom drama is a fight to the finish on the science and politics, but serves as a catalyst for a number of great character arcs and conflict during personal growth, unquote. Hmm. Interested readers who back this will not only be the first in line for a copy of the book, but they'll also help Chance fund the bold line drawings by artist Elin Chansey that help bring the story to life. Additionally, an extensive sample, including a couple dozen episodes, is already available both on Substack and ArcTunes. There's also an extended trailer that further explains the story and showcases the art. Again, Chance isn't a new author. His sci-fi techno-thriller series, The Hidden Truth, has proven to be popular, and he writes nonfiction as well. Beyond that, he takes the time and effort to run book sales for indie authors on a regular basis, and they highlight some fantastic works that founding and comic readers will undoubtedly enjoy. This is from the Wise of Art and Hans G. Shantz and Elin Chansey there. And that interesting event he's scheduled to be involved in later this year, that would be BasedCon, which is which quote is a gathering of authors and fans of science fiction and fantasy, unquote. It's currently planned for September somewhere in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Where exactly? You have to register for the event to find out that info. The event has already gained attention because it's a con for those who are, quote, tired of woke propaganda, unquote. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Who knows at this point? Right now, though, it looks like it's going to have a significant lineup of guests. Those interested in sci fi and fantasy will definitely want to check out the website for additional information. But first things first, and that's Chance's The Wise of Heart. It's received an incredible amount of backing already. All it needs is a final few supporters to hit the $3,000 goal. Any amount that people can provide helps, and so does the spreading word about the book on social media. And I get where he's getting the title because The Wise of Heart you know, I believe that's a biblical statement there. So, anyways, and that's all for that article. So that sounds like an interesting book, though, considering the times we're in right now, right? Let's see now. All right, just seeing if anybody else is coming. Alrighty then. So 21. Oh, okay. All right, now we're gonna get right into the next article here. In regards to Tom King here. Huh. All right, so Tom King to introduce Wonder Woman's daughter, Trinity, says inspiration was to show the relevancy of Wonder Woman's ideals, but also to evolve them. Article by J.B. Augustine, published yesterday. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Tom King returned to writing monthly comics with the current run of Wonder Woman, and he has a vast plan to shake things up. Um, what he has in mind was done multiple times before with Batman, Superman, and many other heroes, so it's not a new idea. But regardless, move over Super Sons. We shall be introduced to Wonder Woman's mysterious daughter, Trinity. Inspired by something artist Mitt Gerrard's shared with him, King said to IGN he had the idea for Trinity in his brain for a while. Quote, hard to remember exactly, but I think I stole at least the first spark from Mitch Gerrard's, the brilliant artist whom I'm blessed to work with on so many things, unquote, he said. Quote, Mitch had a great idea for doing a sort of all ages short story to follow up on our Mr. Miracle series, where John and Damien would be babysitting Scott and Barta's kid Jack. Um, this got me thinking about the son of Batman and the son of Superman as older brother babysitters and how they should be looking after the daughter of Wonder Woman. Unquote. He continued. King also looked to his three children and his familiarity with the quote dynamic and its potential for comedy and drama. Super Sons and daughter, unquote. He then added, quote, it was the kind of thing I'd want to read with them at any age. So after I had that idea in my head, I couldn't get it out, unquote. He wants to bring the same energy Damien had when his debut, quote, went off like an atom bomb in the DC universe, unquote. More than his mere presence, the way Damien played off his father and the other Robins made him special, and King Hope's Trinity has the same impact. Quote in brackets, it's not enough to have just a generic daughter of Wonder Woman. Likewise inspired by Dan Jurgens and the introduction of John Kent, King praised the way John reshaped Superman's mythos. Quote, his strength seems to be his ability to talk to a new generation of readers to show them both the relevancy of Superman's ideals and the need to evolve those tenets, unquote, he said, wanting this to be what Trinity does for Wonder Woman. Huh. Let's see. Quote, this was a model for the impact we wanted for Trinity. Someone who could reflect the greatness of Wonder Woman and still show a next possible step for the embodied, ideals embodied in that very impactful and very unique hero. He added, more than that, however, King wants Trinity to, quote, play in that same sandbox, unquote, with John and Damien and, quote, add to that chemistry, unquote. Interesting how he calls her Trinity because what it almost seems like, because in recent years, of course, they started calling Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman the Trinity, right? It almost seems like they're playing off that idea, and now their kids are now like this junior Trinity kind of thing. You have John Kent as Superman, Damian Wayne as Batman, and then Trinity as Wonder Woman. You know, the junior versions of what was come to know as Trinity. That's partly where her name comes from. She completes a Trinity. Didn't I just say that? Man, I must be psychic or something, right? She completes a Trinity, but King didn't come up with it. A podcaster, Daryl Taylor, did. Quote, Daryl is a super comic fan, and I've been bouncing ideas off of him for a decade to try to see what works and what doesn't, unquote, King explained. He said Trinity, and it just fit perfectly. Other reasons that ended up being her name include, quote, she'd have three lassos. Um, she wasn't another Wonder Woman. Um, she was something new, and also it was just cool, unquote. King admitted to that he went, quote, through 50 very bad names, unquote, before Taylor's suggestion stuck. Quote, it's nice to have nerdy friends, unquote, said King. And of course, this is what he gave us before. Trinity, a 20 something, will be in adulthood upon her debut, but her first appearance won't take place in the present, wherein she isn't born yet. The setting of King's story is approximately 20 years after Wonder Woman #1, and readers will. Well, which Wonder Woman #1? Are they talking about, I guess, the most recent Wonder Woman #1, I guess? Um, and readers will be allowed to see her grow up and mature into the hero they meet. Some of that will be through flashbacks. Quote, I think it's safe to say we'll see more of that future as we move forward, with the story in Wonder Woman, which centers around how that future came to be. King explained about his intended timeline. Quote, but it's important to add that the main focus of Wonder Woman, the book, will be Wonder Woman, the hero. Wonder Woman, always waiting there for you, with the power to possess. And in all the time, and you know she's fighting crime, red, white, and blue. Some of you may remember that song from the 70s series starring Linda Carter. He added with a tease, quote, the point of every issue and every arc of our story is to show the readers how awesome Diana Prince is, how relevant she is to today's world, and how kick-ass her powers, in brackets, and personality are. Trinity is part of that story, but there's a lot more than just Trinity coming. A lot more. But he knows he wants to keep the focus on Trinity and her mom, quote, being the daughter of Wonder Woman, being raised with that particular and particularly historic superhero as your mother, has an impact on Trinity that can't be underestimated, unquote, he said. Quote, Trinity can never escape her parents, that's plural, meaning she has a father, probably Steve Trevor, but King's not telling. Knowing what he's going to probably do, the father will just simply be a sperm donor, and they'll try to make it seem like Wonder Woman's involved in some kind of lesbian affair, and Trinity has really he just simply has two mothers. That's what will probably likely be. But I digress. Giving it just to Diana, he continued, quote, good or horrible, absent or present, your parents' legacy, their decisions are always, um, always with you. And you forever struggle to reconcile what they have done with who you are. It is not enough for Trinity to find her independence. She has to learn what it means to be the daughter of Diana, unquote. Wonder Woman number 800 goes on sale on June 20th, and Wonder Woman number 1 follows in September. King discussed why he returned to monthly titles for such a big arc. Quote, I love where DC is going now, where Jim Lee and Marie Javins are taking us. All the energy coming out of yeah, that's why you guys are losing money, right? Because the direction you're going in. Direction that's turning off a lot of your base comic fans. Coming out of DC Studios, and I just wanted to be a part of it, unquote, he said. Are you ready to say hello to Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman, or is this a played out concept? Give us your answers below. All right, so there we go with that one. Red, white, and blue. Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, always waiting there for you with the powers you possess. All right, so this will be the last article we'll be going over. Hey, Rick. Thanks for popping in. Hey, JR. Trinity needs to be like John and. Oh, wait. Trinity needs to be like John and Damien? So Trinity should like penis? Or she should be sapphic? Knowing Tom King Jr., they'll probably try to make her lesbian, more than likely. Hey, y'all. And of course, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream and see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions the best of my ability. So, with that being said, got this last article to go over. Go through this. Okay, so Chuck Dixon to join Eric July's Ripaverse with new 90-page graphic novel titled Alpha Core. Article by John F. Trent, published this yesterday. The comic book section here. So, here we go. Longtime Batman, Punisher, and Conan the Barbarian writer Chuck Dixon recently announced he will be joining Eric July's Ripaverse with a new 90-page graphic novel titled Alpha Core. Mikestand made the announcement in a video uploaded to Eric July's YouTube channel, where he says, quote, "Hey, I'm Chuck Dixon, and I've been invited to join the Ripaverse. Eric July has assigned me a 90-page graphic novel called Alpha Core," unquote. Yes, there's some pictures from that. Dixon then provided some details about the graphic novel. Quote, it stars a team of superhero cops who patrol the skies and streets of Forest Park in search of super creeps, weirdos, and villains. Boy, do they find them, unquote. Quote, it's full of action, unquote, Dixon continued. Quote, it's kind of a police procedural meets a superhero epic, unquote. Dixon was mum on who he was collaborating with, saying, quote, I wish I could tell you who the artist is, but Eric wants to tell you that himself, unquote. However, he added, quote, trust me, it's a big name, it's a big gun, it's someone you've seen before, and I've seen a lot of the artwork, and it is going to blow you away, unquote. Let's see what you guys are saying. We have some more. JR saying, "Hail Rick, jump in the stream." Have a loud hail JR, Crash Comics, and my hey Woody. Alrighty then. So, anyways, so here's some more artwork there from Alpha Core #1. I believe. No, from ISOM #1 via Rippaverse Comics. Following Dixon's brief announcement, July commented, saying, quote, for me, this is everything coming full circle. Full circle. Understand that his books, what he was doing with the Bat family in the 90s, that was my introduction. Those were the books that I read growing up, unquote. Quote, and for me to be in a position to work with him is a dream certainly come true. And man, it's certainly a blessing, and I'm thankful to even be in this position, unquote, he added. Specifically speaking about the graphic novel, July said, quote, you're going to thoroughly enjoy the Alpha Core book. It turned out absolutely amazing. Chuck came up with an amazing script. There's also some new characters he introduced in that I know you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy, unquote. July then made it clear that he plans to collaborate with Dixon in the future. Quote, "This is not going to be the only project we do with Chuck. We've been chatting a lot and we have some other ideas as well. So this is one of the OGs." Again, it was a point in time where he just could not miss, man. Everything that he was dropping was just great work, and we know that because he's been blacklisted. If you will, whatever you want to call it, they're going to let him touch those. They're not going to let him touch those classic stories. That's fine. We have him over here at the Rippaverse. Quote, "And I can't wait to see what he develops. And hopefully, much like his work back in the Gap, this is going to be stuff that is um, that is people are going to be jamming for years to come." Unquote. He concluded. Let's see. All right. So as we continue on here, the albacore were originally introduced in July's ISOM #1 that is still available for purchase from Rippaverse. A Rippaverse plans to launch a pre-order campaign for ISOM 2 #2 beginning in June. Dixon's Alpha Core graphic novel is expected to be released after ISOM #2 with a release window sometime this fall, although Rippaverse's creative and social media manager, Andrew Rodriguez, did note that the book might be released earlier, but the company doesn't want to overcommit at this time. Yeah, there's an old saying about the idea of counting your eggs before they're hatched, right? What do you make of Chuck Dixon joining the Rippaverse with AlphaCore? Alrighty then. So there we go with that one. As I said, that was the last story of the evening. That we'll go over. Made some pretty good time here. So now what we will probably do, we're gonna go over some wrestling news. Go over the wrestling wrap up. Um, as last night's Raw had some interesting things going on. As they're continuing to prep for Night of Champions this Saturday. So it was revealed that in the event last night, the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's mystery partner was going to be Matt Riddle. And I believe they won their match. Trish and Becky had a pretty interesting, tete-la-tete, as it were, during the contract signing for their match. As of course for Saturday, of course you got AJ Styles and Seth Rollins taking each other on to for the new world, and it was also announced that this world, the lineage for this world title that they're going will be connected to the big gold belt that was back about 15 years ago. So that would be that will be interesting. Let's see. In other news, of course, Eric Bischoff's been taking a lot of shots at AEW. Basically, particularly with the Collision show coming up here, this on his 83 weeks podcast, Eric, basically lambasted Tony Khan for the color scheme of the Collision logo. Saying it's almost a carbon copy of the Monday Nitro logo from back in the 90s. So And aside from that news, let's see, anything else? No, I don't think I have anything else on the wrestling side of it. So, actually, I do one last piece of wrestling news that I should mention. And Woody, you might remember this name. Peggy Lee Leather passed away. I believe it was yesterday. They didn't say what she passed away from, but she was 64 years old. Peggy Lee Leather, former LPWA Women's World Champion. She, basically in the throughout her career, she's had some legendary. She initially was teaming with Wendy Richter in the WWE before Richter turned face and went on that run as beating Moolah for the WWF Women's Champion. Wendy Richter and Peggy Lee, at the time known as just simply as Peggy Lee, would challenge Velvet McIntyre and I believe it was Winona. I think it was her, but for the WWF Women's Tag Team Championships. She also had some legendary battles with Bambi / Selena Majors, all over. She renewed her rivalry with Wendy Richter in the late 80s, I think 89, 88, 89, 90 in AAWA over the AWA Women's Championship. But Peggy Lee Leather passed away yesterday at the age of 64. So we'll do a quick moment of silence and then we will get to this day in each history. Alrighty then. So today being Tuesday, May the 23rd, 2023. Why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history? History! Alright, so anyways, the first piece in each history we're going to look back at, we're going to go back 40 years ago today. As on this date, 40 years ago today, George Bruns passed away at the age of 79 or 68. Passed away at the age of 68. Now, of course, the name might not sound familiar to you, but his work should. So, George Bruns was an American composer of music for film and television. His accolades include 4 Academy Award nominations and 3 Grammy Award nominations. He is mainly known for compositions for numerous Disney films spanning from the 1950s until the 1970s, among them Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, Sleeping Beauty from 1959, 101 Dalmatians or Absent-Minded and The Absent-Minded Professor, both from 1961, The Sword and the Stone, 1963, The Jungle Book, 1967, The Love Bug, 1968, Aristocats, 1970, and Robin Hood, 1970. So, if you guys ever saw any of those movies, this is the guy who composed the music for those movies, for a lot of the, as they said, the Disney films that span the 50s through the 70s. So I guess what they're saying here is basically, if you watch those movies, you would have heard his music in any of them, spanning those 3 decades, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So anyways, on this date, 40 years ago today, George Bruns, American composer who composed a lot of the Disney soundtrack music from the 50s to the 70s, passed away at the age of 68. So with that, now let's move on to the next date in each history, which we move ahead 10 years to 30 years ago today from 1993. On this date in 1993, WCW held its first Slammiversary or Slamboree event. Slamboree 1993, a Legends reunion, which of course was where they established the WCW Hall of Fame very much. A Legend ceremony occurred at this event and introduced Ole Anderson, the Assassin, Ox Baker, Red Bastion, Lord James Lears. Basically, a lot of the guys who were mainstays throughout the 60s and 70s. That, obviously in the NWA territories. Particularly Mid Atlantic, which was the precursor to the Mid Atlantic and Georgia territories were the precursors to WCW. So, WCW Hall of Fame induction ceremony also occurred, and Lou Thesz, Mr. Wrestling 2, Vern Gagne, and Eddie Graham were the inductees. So, even had some AWA guys there. The event saw some changes in the card as Brad Armstrong replaced his father, Bob Armstrong, in the Legends Tag Team match. The Prisoner replaced Scott Norton in the Bounty match with Sting, and Tom Zink replaced Shane Douglas, who was fired by WCW in the NWA and WCW World Tag Team Steel Cage match. Now, the Prisoner, for those of you who don't remember, that was the Prisoner was Kevin Wacholtz. Kevin Wacholtz, who is known better to most people as Nails from the WWE. This was, of course, a couple years after he was let go from the WWE. They brought him back to face Sting in that match, in the Bounty match. So, anyways, so the main event of the show saw Davey Boy Smith defeat Big Van Vader via DQ in a WCW World Heavyweight Championship match. Barry Windham retained the NWA World Heavyweight Championship over Arn Anderson. Now, this is around the time, this was kind of towards the end of WCW and its affiliation with the NWA. This is a point when WCW was about to finally fully break away from the NWA. Now, they still were a month or so away from this, but at this point, they were still affiliated with each other, and so you'd have obviously NWA and WCW World Heavyweight titles being defended on these shows. So Hollywood Blondes would retain the WCW World Tag Team titles against Dos Hombres, or two men, Ricky Steamboat and Tom Zink. Now, at the time, of course, before his firing, Shane Douglas was teaming with Ricky Steamboat, and I think they did actually win one reign as WCW World Tag Team Champions. So, Tom Zink, and then Sting defeated the Prisoner. Paul Orndorff and Rick Rude defeated Dustin Rhodes and Kensuke Sasaki. They had a few Legends matches there. So, Sid Vicious defeated Van Hammer in like 35 seconds, and Sid Vicious had Colonel Robert Parker in his corner. And this is also around the time that they were starting to team Marcus Alexander Bagwell, a.k.a. Buff Bagwell, and Two Cold Scorpio together. So, 30 years ago today, Slamboree 1993 took place. Now, moving on to the next piece in each history as we move ahead to 2007. As on this date in 2007, as soon as I can pull it up here. In 2007, the 15th issue of American Version from DC's Vertigo line went on sale on newsstands on this date back in 2007. It was sold for $2.99 with 32 pages. The story was called Rio, written by Stephen P. Siegel. Becky Cloonan doing the penciling. Inked by Jim Rugg. Jared K. Fletcher did the lettering, and then the coloring was done by by Miller. So on this date, 16 years ago today, back in 2007, the 15th issue of American Version went on sale on this date back in 2007. And finally, on this date, 15 years ago today, 15 years ago today in 2008, Studio Hibari's Amuri and Star Ocean. The OVA was released. The OVA, Studio Hibari's OVA, Amuri and Star Ocean, was released on this date 15 years ago today. So the 3-part CGI animated. The year 01 of the new age, 2012, the sun began to radiate increased amounts of radiation. A few years later, very strong children with unique abilities or allergies. So they're calling superhuman kids here allergies, okay? Began to be born. Amuri Kakioin is a 13-year-old girl born with a special allergy called repulsion. The ability keeps her from actually touching most of her environment, but also protects her from harm. During a trip to space station Pinkovel in the year 019 or 2030, known enemies of the junk planet Galapagos attack and destroy the entire space station. So that's the general premise of this anime. So on this date, 15 years ago today, the Studio Hibari's OVA, Omori in Star Ocean, went on sale on this date. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you tonight. So I hope you all enjoyed the show. You guys enjoyed the content we talked about tonight. And of course, we'll be back with more niche news tomorrow night. Also, this Friday, of course, I have RJ Carter with me from Critical Blast, as we continue our look back to October of 1939. This week focusing on books from Fox Feature Syndicate. So I hope to see you all back here tomorrow. Bye.